Hey there guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion number 290, rail building changes in high-res icons. And Afflixion is actually not with us today. He couldn't make it, unfortunately, but next week, maybe not, but he will be joining us, of course, as much as he can. So, problems with rail building. The problem with rail building is that it has too many states. It depends whether you start building the rail with shift to use a ghost mode or not, and then it also matters whether you still hold shift to ignore trees or not. Moving from manual building to ghost rail building means canceling the whole rail building and starting again with the correct modifier. And this is something I've been frustrated with for a long time. I haven't really voiced it because it's kind of a minor frustration for me, but it's definitely something that does irritate me quite a bit. So the problems were reaching at the surface from time to time, and Twinson even drew a nice little state diagram of the rail building system, which I'm kind of lost. But yeah, so there's like all these different states basically to achieve what you want. It kind of peaked with this bug report, which I suppose we can just check out really quick here. Pressing shift in rail builder does not allow temporary ghost placement. Okay, so I guess that was a bug. But if we go back here, after some time it became clear that we should simplify it. This is a nice example where we can talk about change we just released in 17.29 in a Friday Fact. So this is going to be currently something that will be in the game in the latest 0.17 version. So from now on, instead of 3 modes, building manually, ghost building, and ghost building plus tree rock removal, we only have 2 modes where the ghost building without obstacle deconstruction is not available anymore. So it doesn't matter anymore how you start the building, it just matters whether you are holding shift or not at the moment, which makes it consistent with the normal entity building and the ghost icon, which I think is great. This makes sense. I didn't really ever see a decent reason to have it without obstacle deconstruction anyway. Because you're either building it like normal or you're using it as a ghost, which you obviously want the obstacles to be deconstructed with. So this is a really good quality of life change. I like it. Once the topic is open, it's hard to leave it so easily, so we agreed that the rail building could be streamlined even more. The current model is that you have to build one straight piece of rail first, then you can use the rail builder on the edge of that rail. It is annoying generally, and especially for the new players, because he might miss the way how it is being used, as the straight rails are built exactly the same as the other entities. The reason we did it this way was mainly because when we first introduced the rail builder, we weren't confident enough that it could replace even the basic straight rail building, but since the rail building is stable enough, we might go one step forward. So the new plan is that the rail won't be used to build straight rails normally the way you can now. The rail item would be always used to build by the rail planner only. Instead of having it to snap to an existing rail, you could just start building anywhere on the ground. Instead of showing the rail preview when holding the item, you would see the arrow as when you're starting the rail building, and you could rotate it with the R key. It would make sense to make the arrow color size different from starting a rail planner on the ground versus snapping to an existing rail. But other than that, it would be the same. So again, it's kind of just removing an extra step that really wasn't needed. So I think this is really nice. Basically just, that currently, if you have to place a rail first to actually start using the planner, but the change they're wanting to implement is that you can just start building with the planner right away without already having a rail on the ground, which is really nice. High-res icons. So until now, the old GUI non-scalable system, until now with the old non-scalable system, we hadn't had much of a problem with the icons. We used one single version of 32 pixel to display in the GUI slots, and the zooming system of the game takes care of the rescaling for the rendering in the world. This is not a perfect solution because they use the same set of icons in the GUI and in the world. That means the zooming level of the game can rescale them, but at 25%, so they lose a lot of control over the bitmaps and readability. Now with the high resolution possibilities of the new GUI, they need to double the size of the bitmap. Therefore, the original icons must be 64 pixels in order to have a correct visualization at 200% GUI scale. We're still using them in the world, so the engine can rescale them up to 9.55%. The amount of control pixels is now much more serious. Amount of out of control pixels. So unsize versus unisize, sorry, I can't read, versus bitmap. We are exploring some possibilities and want to keep it simple. For now, we are testing the limits of our old technique, one simple bitmap for all the uses. As you can see here, this is like a good demonstration. Delight yourself with this test icon placed on the belt, 64 by 64. Every square is 8 pixels. With it, you can see how extreme the resizing can become. From maximum zoom level, 76% icon size, to minimum zoom level with 9.55 icon size, which, yeah, as you can see. To solve the problem for making it work in all the situations, we designed the icons in a very synthetic way. We simplify the shape to its purest, meaning like the case of the assembly machines, where one gear plus the color indicates level, 1, 2, 3 gears means level 2, etc. As you can see here, which is really nice. So this is like just a really easy visualization of what the difference is, which I like. This solution works, but we have a lot of icons, 355, and many of them are very complex. In some cases, this complexity is essential at the time designing the icon, especially the entities, so we need to find the proper synthesis for each icon, as we did with assembling machines. They work fine at any zoom level, even at 128 pixels. But with other entities, like the big electric pole, it's more complicated to keep this level of minimalism due to the fact that the shape itself is already complicated. If they make it less complex, we wouldn't be able to recognize it anymore. I think this is a pretty good thing. I mean, I can kind of still recognize that, although I can see how if it gets really small like that, it would be hard to recognize. A possible solution would be using a very minimalistic flat icon, but this wouldn't be integrated as an object in the world. We don't like that. The other solution is using bitmaps. So we use different versions of the same icon optimized for different zoom levels. We would notice a change of version at certain zoom levels, and for solving it, we must complicate the solution. This complication would be not just for the code to create some crazy cross-fading effect, but also for designers to keep the several versions basically is close enough as to not feel the change. So I would like to be pragmatic, and I bet for the unisize solution based on a proper synthesis, but it's not going to be easy for sure, like the entire history of Factorio development. So, pretty cool stuff. Rail building is reworked, which is awesome. Just a little more friendly, I guess. A few less steps included, and then the icons, they're working to make them, look a bit nicer when they're actually entities, which I really like for like the assembly machine, how they're just using the gears to represent it, like the different levels. I think that's really nice. Inserters are pretty easy to tell because they're just entirely different colors and stuff like that. Belts as well. I'm trying to think how they would show that, but I mean, like even this looks really, like this one and this one looks really good, and this one like looks good, but it's just so small it's kind of hard to tell like what it is unless you have these two to compare it to. But overall, I think they're definitely going in the right direction for this. So there you go, guys. Pretty simple Friday facts, straightforward. It's a shame Flixing couldn't join us, but that happens. And I think that's going to do it. So leave any thoughts and stuff you have down below or on the forums. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.